middle of a thunderstorm.
Yeah.
Me and all the other girls. Because we think Annie is about to calf. Of course.
She's in Jersey, if you don't know who she is.
I'll show her.
She's your Jersey cow.
Of course, in the middle of a storm. Why not? Oh, look, lightning. So there she is. We separated her off. Daisy's running, a little frisky with the storm. So Annie is due on Tuesday. It is Saturday night. She's had loose ligaments. She's had mucus all week. But I really thought she was going to go late because her bag was not filled out. Wow, that is a storm. It's going to be fun. She also, we decided to have her, we just moved the cows. We decided to put her in here separately. And you can see she's like really tucking her back end a ton. That's like definite labor signs right there. She keeps tucking her back end under. She has been keeping herself separate from the herd a bit today when they were together. It's gonna be an interesting night, another long night, because it is storming and she's getting ready to have a calf. So, fine. Is she pushing? Hold on, let's listen to her. One hoof. No, maybe two. I think that's the nose. It's okay, girl. We're just trying to make sure you're right.
Sorry, girl. Oh, there's the head. Okay, it's proper. We just gotta pull it.
Here, want to hold this too? Make sure your hand isn't covering it.
I realized what you were handing me after the fact.
I'm having a hard time trying to pull and get...
Teresa, you want to take this flashlight?
Yeah.
You can,
It's on
the flashlight's fine. We're good with flashlights.
Okay.
If you pull gently, what does she start pushing next? Gently is probably pretty hard.
She braces, but I.
So pull.
Oh, there you go.
Pulling
Go
is
ahead.
what she does.
Okay.
There you go.
Push, Annie. Good job. Good job.
Yep.
There you go. She's coming. Woo. All right. Gentle. Welcome to this world, babe.
It's a boy. We're not keeping it.
Aww. Sorry, buddy.
We haven't vlogged anything more. One, because we don't have a calf anymore. So.
Nope, we do not.
He's alive. Don't worry. He's fine. So, I don't know. Do we say that it was a bull?
Yeah.
It was our very first bull. But we thought we should sit down and like talk through what actually happened, because the whole thing was recorded because my mom was there and she thankfully took the phone and was recording it. It wasn't an ideal first time to have to go in and pull a calf, but you know, we did it, so that was cool. So basically, Annie wasn't pushing. Like, they say when you have a cow that has given birth before, from the time their water breaks, if it's a heifer, meaning they've never had a calf before, they have like up to an hour to make like serious progress. But like, well, no, up to an hour they should have the calf. But you should see like serious progress amidst that hour. And then if they've already calved before, they should have that calf on the ground within 30 minutes of their water breaking. So it had been 40 minutes and she didn't really have any progress.
Yeah.
We saw 2 hooves very early on, like within like I think 10 minutes of her water breaking.
Yeah.
The hooves were out, and then like
but
nothing.
then there's nothing.
Yeah.
It was basically the same. Sometimes they'd go back in a little bit. They'd come out a little bit further, but it was right in that same area for like 40 minutes.
Yep, and she was just like, it didn't seem like she was pushing, like she had her back end tucked, but she was just kind of crazy. She wasn't really...
I walked out at one point and she's just out there eating.
I think I might have recorded that she laid down once and she like put her head back kind of weird, but she wasn't pushing during that. And then other than that time, once the hooves were out, she never laid down. She did not try to lay down at any point, which was like the first odd thing, that she wasn't trying to lay down and push out this calf. And I was obviously talking with my friend Ashley, who's much more knowledgeable. And so she was like, you know, if she hasn't by the 30-minute mark, I would put it in a stanchion and, you know, make sure everything is placed properly. Because when the calf comes out, you want 2 hooves and a head, the nose. And it looked weird because like the hooves are like sideways coming out too, when like normally you'd have them like hooves going out like this and then like the head on top like that coming out. And they were like sideways like this. So we decided obviously to get her in a stanchion, and everything was placed properly except the hooves were like twisted almost. It was like they were twisted like this, but the head was like further back than I think it probably should have been. But it was placed properly enough that we could just pull the calf out. But pulling calf out is not easy.
No.
It takes a lot of strength. And then we couldn't get the hooves like out far enough.
Right. Because there's one approach to do it is leveraging a chain. And basically you wrap the chain in a particular way around both hooves.
One, we didn't have
both
proper
legs.
chain.
Yeah.
We didn't have like tiny chains, which is what I guess you're supposed to have.
Yeah, so I tried getting the chain on, you probably saw that. And sometimes it wasn't staying, and it was just difficult even to get the hooves out far enough to get it up high enough on the leg to do the proper kind of tie on that chain. And so that was challenging. And so eventually we were like, okay, well, we've got them out far enough. And she kept pulling it back in quite a few times. And so once we got enough that we could both grab a leg, we were like, okay, we're just gonna...
Yeah, we just had to be using a towel for traction. And thankfully it wasn't like a big calf, because from what my friend was saying, if it was a big calf, we would have not been able to just pull it out like that. Like, it would have taken another grown man and Ryan, not me, to be able to pull that calf out. But the biggest issue that we seem to be having is she wasn't pushing.
Yeah, she wasn't pushing,
she just
like,
didn't know she was supposed to push. So there was no help.
Really, she didn't even truly start pushing until we had the head like partially out. And then she provided a little extra oomph.
Yeah, and typically you're not supposed to pull until they're pushing. But there was none of that happening. Yeah. So we just had to pull him out. And it was good that we did, because as soon as he hit the ground, you could tell he was distressed. Like, he was real, just kind of limp at first. And he was fine. Like, we had to vigorously, obviously, clean him up, and we took him straight to the barn and just to look him over, get him cleaned off really, really well. And he was a bull calf, first bull calf, which was fine because he's half Wagyu. We didn't breed him. The previous dairy that Annie came from, she was already bred, and she was bred to a Wagyu, which is like a high-end beef breed. And so we already knew that if it was a bull calf that we would sell it.
Right.
And so it was already sold that night. Basically as soon as he hit the ground, he already had one of our friends actually that lives near us ended up buying him, and they're going to be raising him potentially to actually be a herd sire.
Depending on his attitude.
Yeah, depending on his attitude and his A2 status. So.
Right.
If not, he'll be beef. But yeah, we ended up selling him, and they picked him up Sunday. So we don't have a calf anymore.
We didn't even keep him for 24 hours.
No.
He was gone.
We kept him long enough to get a good amount of colostrum in him.
They've got beef cattle as well as dairy, and so they were actually able to take him and graft him onto one of the cows that they already had in milk. And so he's already nursing on a new cow. He's doing good. Yeah. And so that's really like best case scenario.
Yeah, we obviously pull our calves. We've already talked about this, and we've gotten questions before about like, why do we pull our calves? There's a few reasons. The biggest things is we are a raw dairy, and so we obviously provide milk for families. And with calves, you have an introduction to bacteria, higher chance of mastitis. They do damage to teats. And then we typically are breeding our girls now to sexed semen. So that means that they have a 90% chance of having a heifer calf. And we do that because we are trying to build our herd right now. And so any heifer calf that hits the ground, we're gonna keep. And when they're raised on a cow, you have a higher chance of them nursing on a cow long term and trying to even as an adult cow. And we don't. We have had that issue, and we know that's not great because it's a problem when you have a full-grown cow trying to nurse on another full-grown cow. Whether it's condition issues, they just don't need the milk at that point, causing damage to teats. Like, there's just so many issues.
There's a lot of potential risks that we don't want to have to deal with.
Yeah, and we have been torn before about like whether it's the right choice because, you know, they had their calf and one would think like they're meant, like that's their baby. We should be leaving their calf on them. And I totally get that and why people are upset about that. Again, we're vegan. I was very much an ethical vegan for 3 years. So I totally get it. And I think just as we've been in this environment and learned so much, there's a reason cows have always been referred to biblically as livestock. They need human intervention to help them succeed. Because if it was their choice, they would a lot of them would let anybody nurse on them. I think we've talked about how when we got Essie, we tried to put Calvin, our very first, we had a pet steer. He was 5 years old. Put them together and he started nursing on her.
Yep.
And she'll take anyone. She's like, well, whatever. But you know, that could be at the detriment of her condition. She can't support feeding a 5-year-old steer. It's one of those things that it's like, yes and no. Like, yes, it's natural that they have the calf and they produce this milk. But also these dairy breeds produce excess milk for a reason.
Right.
Biblically speaking, there's also talk of eating dairy, and like that is also God's design. So it's not something, I won't lie and say it's something that like I always feel like 100% this is what we're supposed to do. I do sometimes question, but then I come back to like all those reasons that we talked about before, and I'm like, no, this is what we're supposed to be doing. And we do the harder option of pulling them right away.
When we pull a calf, that means we have to bottle feed that calf. And we have to, especially during that first 24 hours, we need to be feeding it like every couple hours.
Yeah, every 2 hours.
And then of course, after that first day or two, then we still need to feed them 3 times a day, every single day, which is labor, it's time. Like, we're putting more effort into it when we pull that calf than we would have to if we left the calf with the mother.
Yeah, and we do everything kind of the harder way. Like, a lot of people will wean their calves at 8 weeks. We don't do that. We keep our calves typically on milk for 6 months. A lot of them too will only be giving 2 bottles a day. We do 3 bottles a day. Like, we really do prioritize our calves.
We really like to do extra work.
We do. Well, we want to prioritize because we don't feed them. It would be much cheaper for us to feed them formula. We don't do that. We feed our calves raw milk. They get access to the raw milk before anybody else does. You know, same with the goats. Like, they get our raw cow's milk. We don't feed them formula. Like, we're not doing it because it's the easier option just because we get extra milk. We don't actually get extra milk because we're still feeding the milk to our calves. So it's just all of that, all those other reasons are why we do it. But it's not the easier option. A lot of places that do still pull calves will leave the calf on for 3 days and then pull the calf. And that's when it's really hard on the cow because now they have been actually bonded to this calf.
They've created a relationship with that calf that they just had versus like what we do when we pull them right away. They don't really create that bond. And one thing to think about is like cattle and livestock in general are not like humans. They don't have this inherent bond like humans do.
It's not an emotional bond. It's all instinctual or it's based on routine.
Yeah.
Everything for them is instinctual or routine. So that explains like why we pull our calves right away. It is the easiest on them. It's not the easiest on us. But that is the decision we have made for a multitude of reasons. And ultimately pulling the calf right away is the best option for them to not care. Like, that's really as simple as it is. Like, Annie, there was not a qualm to her about us taking her bull calf right away. Girl didn't even want to birth it. So, but yeah, we didn't keep the bull calf, and that was because we've done the math, and for us, raising our own beef actually does not save us money. we save money by just supporting a small farmer, which is great. Like the fact that we can just support another small farm that's local to us instead, and that's how we get our beef for now. If we had more property, then that's something like we could look into. But based on like our property size and our focus, it just doesn't make sense for us right now.
Right.
And so that's kind of why we sold him. And yeah, he's living his best life. He gets to grow up on a cow, which is the best thing to do. If you're gonna be raising a bull to actually be a herd sire, you want them actually raised by a cow. There's like there's so many intricacies to the cattle world, but when you have a bottle bull, they can be very dangerous, because once those hormones start and they have been raised around humans, a lot of times they can be super pushy. So it's actually a lot better to, if you're going to raise a bull, to actually be a bull and you're not just gonna steer it, you actually want them to be raised on a cow. So yeah, there's so much involved. So much we're still learning.
Really, it started, I brought them all into milk, and I noticed when she got in the stanchion, she had a bunch of mucus hanging out her back end.
And she's had that the last week, but that was more than usual. A lot. Yeah. And
so I came and told Arianna, I'm pretty sure her ligaments are like gone.
Her ligaments seem gone. Her front of her bag looks so full, but her back end, not full. Didn't
look full at all.
It's one of the big signs of a cow being ready to calve is their bag gets entirely full, like no wrinkles. Yep. And it's not unheard of that they don't bag up until they calve, but it's less common. And literally from her walking to the stanchion, and then she peed in the stanchion like 5 or 6 times, which is weird. She doesn't do that.
Because basically, like when they pee, they're more or less doing that same type of pushing motion.
But literally, her walk from the stanchion back to the pasture, and her bags were filling.
Yeah.
I was like, what the heck? And then just.
But yeah, so it was like it was less than 3 hours from the time that we noticed when I brought him in the milk to when she calved.
Yeah.
Or when we had to help her calf. Yeah, that's that.
All was well in the end. Bull calf was healthy. He just had a little slow start. We just had to do a lot of vigorous rubbing to get him going. And Annie's doing great.
One thing that was interesting is that with this bull calf, he was by far the easiest to take a bottle.
Yeah, right away.
Of any of the calves we've had. So he's the 4th calf that we've had on a bottle, right? 4th?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he's the fourth that we had on a bottle.
Bottle calf.
No, he's the 4th birth.
4th?
Yeah, Emmy, Daisy. Wait, right?
Oh yeah.
Emmy, Daisy, Brownie, and now.
Okay, so we've had
both 5
bottle calves.
Yeah, because Delilah was already. I mean, she. Was,
so 4th calving, 5 bottle calves we've had now.
Yep.
Yeah, and Delilah was not great because she was dying when we got her, so, yeah, we've learned a lot. I feel, with everyone, I feel more prepared.
Yeah.
I still remember the first birth, which was a goat, and we had to pull that one.
Yeah.
Our very first time, and that was very different. It's much easier to put your hand up a cow than it is a goat, let me tell you. And I am seemingly the person that has to put their hand up things, so.
You're the one that just... You know more about all that than I do, so.
Yeah, he's the manual laborer. I do all the research. Not because this man cannot house that information in his brain. If you know Ryan, he's very intelligent. He works in the IT field. You have to be to work in that field. So in terms of like knowing what to feel and knowing what to look for, I was already more knowledgeable on it, so. If
there's ever anything that is like, oh, there's something, they seem off, I'll be like, hey, Arianna, come take a look at them. Yeah. What's your opinion?
Yeah.
And then she'll say, I think it might be this, or let me go ask so-and-so and everybody, and then we'll get an answer and be like, okay, now we know more.
Exactly. Knowledgeable friends. More knowledgeable friends are great. We're gonna end it there. This battery is dying, so I want to go. But we hope you guys enjoyed this. You know, we knew we couldn't have a total lucky streak with another heifer, but if any of them could be a bull calf, it was that one.
Yeah, that was a good one.
And he was easy to find a new home for, and he's not even far from us, and we'll get to watch him grow up, and either he'll get to have a great life and then turn into beef, or he'll get to be a breeding bull. We'll see. And we have rights to have him breed to our girls too later on if he does end up doing that, so that's nice too. So anyway, we'll see you guys in the next video. We hope you guys enjoyed it, and that's it.
Have a good one.
Bye.